Real estate investment is one of the top areas of investment that have contributed to the financial economy in Nigeria. It has become trendy over the last couple of years as individuals and companies make millions on a daily basis. Let's understand real estate investment better and, of course, public perception of the business. I have with me live in the studio Chief Executive Officer, GHM Luxury, Mr. Ayoolanrewaju Kuyebi. Thank you so much. It's the first time on the show. We appreciate this.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
A lot of talks around the real estate space. I think that's where the money is now. So, yeah, I must tell you.
Actually, it comes with this very huge potential.
Yeah, it is. It really does. Let's start with an overview of Lagos now, for example. Let me stay with Lagos now, Nigeria. Housing deficit. We know we have it for real. What is first your reaction to this? And what ways can we bridge that gap? It's always 20 million. 25 million, 28 million, 20 million, we always see. But in your reaction, what's an overview of what's happening in the market at the moment?
Okay, basically, the market, as far as real estate is concerned, the market perception at the moment is at the lowest low. And that is not far-fetched. The reason being that we've been having incessant collapse. And Nigeria ranked the #1 country in Africa where you have where frequency and intensity of collapse is actually very, very at an alarming scale. And Lagos is actually taking the lead as far as states is concerned, as far as Nigeria is concerned in whole. So, and that being said, real estate is actually one of the popular investment destinations as far as of now. And the public perception, as I've said, is at the lowest low. And this problem is actually multidimensional. What do I mean by this is the fact that the first thing first is the fact that the customer expectation,
okay,
the investors' expectation, and the end users' expectation, all of these three currently are not being met. So there is a gap between the level of the promise made and promise kept. So, majorly, a lot of people have been writing articles concerning off-plan sales. What are it's tagged a very high-risk venture.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people, if I talk to you now, if I ask you now about off-plan sales of property, you have, if it has not happened to you directly, it will have happened to somebody very close to you, whereby they lost a large sum of money when it comes to investing in off-plan real estate investment. So, even at that, the problem is not from the developers' angle alone. The problem is actually multidimensional. Real estate in Nigeria, a development company in Nigeria is like going into a football match when you know you are 4 goals down. And what do I mean by that is this. There is no suitable finance. Even the finance that are available, are they suitable for real estate? That is the first thing. The second is, what is government policy around real estate? The third one is the fact that if you will get a good semi-skilled labor now, you have to be looking towards Republic of Benin, Togo, for people to do as small as plastering.
Plastering, plumbing.
So even the skilled labor available, what is their level? With our universities turn out graduates year in, year out. When you interview some of the graduates in the built sector, in the built environment, you'll be amazed. They don't even know their left from their right. So when you look at that, so you still have to come to the fact that there is high inflation and massive naira devaluation. So every project that have started in 2018 that they are yet to complete as of now, it will be difficult to complete because those projects were consummated when dollar was doing just slightly above 200.
200.
So today 760 is our reality. So how do you complete such project? So how do you promise a certain specification and you'll be able to meet up with it? So those are the reality we need to start looking at. So yes, the public perception as far as real estate is concerned is lowest low. But before we even look at that, let's look at what are the potentials of real estate as far as Nigeria is concerned. Good. At the last quarter of 2022, real estate contributed over 3 trillion into Nigerian GDP. How can the government leave? So how can government leave such sector highly unregulated? The highest level of professional quackery is in real estate and construction. You will see an accountant being in charge of project. Without, when you look at the combined experience of people undertaking a particular project, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. So there's a professional quackery. The quackery level is at the highest high. And that is why when you look at the current state of collapse, one thing you are going to notice is the fact that building no longer collapse during rainy season.
Yeah,
so the kind of collapse we have now is purely structural
issues.
Structural issue. And Lagos boasts of about 50% of professionals in the built environment. And still Lagos has the highest cases of collapse as far as Nigeria is concerned. They have over 300 in the last 48 years. Those are the ones that have been reported. What about the ones that are not documented? So that means we have, Lagos alone have over 300 cases of collapse. So and I can tell you from here because, you know, I've built in the Southwest. I've been part of construction in the South-South. I've been part of construction in the North Central. Lagos has the most robust physical planning law, but very, very deficient in enforcement. And if you start any construction in Lagos today, a lot of agencies are going to come at you. Yeah. They are going to come at you, but what is the capacity of the people enforcing Lagos planning law? That's another thing we need to look at. And that is why you will notice that the major collapse we've had in recent time are buildings that are 5 floors and above. That shows capacity deficiency. And it's now becoming the fact that people now think an indigenous development company cannot get it right. That is our bane at the moment. So, and that should not be the case. Yes. That should never be the case because there are still some development companies that are actually doing very, very well in the market.
I want to ask you because I see that you have this strong background in structural and geotechnical engineering. Yeah, yes. I was able to get that engineering, and that's really commendable. So, what are you doing differently?
Okay, so basically, for me as a person, is the fact that if you are going to do anything at all, we have to do it right. Yes, because you know the truth of vision. That's the focus. Anything we must do, we have to do it right. So you know when you do the most difficult thing, but that are important, and when it is most uncomfortable, that is how warriors are being born, and that is the case of every development company as far as Nigeria is concerned. You are faced with the fact that there is lack of public credibility in the sector. You are faced with high borrowing rate. You are faced with the fact that in the last couple of months, from October to date, our receivables has been our receivable compliance level has been at 30%. That means we have to actually go into our construction finance and begin to draw down at what percent? There are facilities we've taken at 19%. Today, those facilities are 28%. So, say I sold the property to you in 2021 at a particular, say at 10 naira, when I have the borrowing rate at that time was 19%, and today the same borrowing rate is at 28%. I sold to you when dollar was doing less than 500. Today, dollar is 760. Do you think I will still be able to meet your expectation at that point? I will not be able to, and that is the problem. And that is why the public perception of real estate at this particular point in time is at the lowest low. And that is why I target a multidimensional problem. So government still needs to play a bigger role.
They will always have a role to play.
No, government needs to play a bigger role, and I'll tell you why. So when you look at Lagos, infrastructure ought to precede development. But in Lagos, development precedes process of infrastructure. So when you want to build your house, you plan your own road, you plan your own drainage, you have to provide your own power. Okay. So how can housing be cheap? How can expectation of investors be met? It's not going to be the case. And that is on one side. On the other side, things keep moving. The inflation is at the highest high at the moment. So project you consummated a year ago at a particular cost, as of now, is at 30% increase in cost. Sure. So these are things that contingency plan cannot actually take care of because things are constantly moving at an alarming dimension that devoid common economics metrics. So when you put all of these things together, what government needs to do is to put a policy that works in place. Yes. The reality of every real estate development company today, and that is why in the financial space, they are wary of real estate companies. because a couple of companies have defaulted on their performance as far as their financial commitment is concerned. So the perception to the investors, to the end users, is at the lowest low. Everybody that takes a possession of one real estate or the other will have one complaint or the other. The developer at the other hand will equally have one complaint or the other. So it's a multidimensional problem. But the fact is but the fact remains that government needs to step in and still play the bigger role by providing infrastructure, by allowing a proper planning law to be in place and enforcement of such law. You know, ambition, when you look at ambition without implementation, it's just a ridiculous delusion. When you put a physical planning law in place and such law are not implemented. Look at what is happening in Ibejuleki at the moment. There is a massive surge in demand for properties in Ibejuleki, and a lot of people are actually putting their money into such development. And when you go to Ibejuleki, there is no plan for such population explosion. There is no plan. There is no feasible infrastructure.
Traffic issues will come up. A lot of issues
so
will
people will do very many development. The government will come in and say there is a road there, there is this here. So people will begin to lose their investment. So how do you encourage investors to put their money? Do you understand what I'm trying to say now? So everybody looks as if we don't know what we don't know what we are doing, or we don't have where we are going. But the truth of the matter is just that a future you fail to plan for. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's critically clear. Government needs to put infrastructure in place. Government needs to put policies in place that is actually suitable for real estate. And in terms of finance, government needs to do more. Currently, we discovered that BOI is not doing, it doesn't finance residential building, but they do commercial.
Okay.
They finance hotel, apartment, and all of that, but they don't do residential. But the highest demand for real estate today is still residential. So how do you bridge the gap? So when you get a finance from BOI, it's minimum of 7 years. They give you 2 years moratorium period. You have time in your hand to be able to. So those are the things that's the conversation we need to have. Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria recently increased their single obligor from 15 million to 50 million, which is a step in the right direction. But even at that, what property can you buy with 50 million today? Even if you have to do 30% equity contribution for the property. So what decent accommodation can you get between the 0 and 100 million today? What decent accommodation can you get in the suburban and the urban centers of Lagos State? So
location matters too.
So do you understand what I'm trying to say now? So when you look at all of these things together, you discover that it's just putting the right policy in place. When government put the right policy in place and there is presence of visible infrastructure, roads, drainages, power, water. Imagine you don't have to invest over 15 million to get a potable water for a single dwelling in Lekki. And that is why everywhere you go, you see water tanker all over Lekki and Ikoyi, because there is no public water. Even if there is infrastructure for public water, it's readily available to the end users.
I'm thinking, are there prospects for public-private partnership in the real estate sector?
For sure. Even in Lagos, there is LSDPC. That is what LSDPC is for. LSDPC is a government establishment.
How functional has this been?
They are very functional. Their presence is visible everywhere. They have development in Lekki, Ikoyi, and even in the suburban area of Lagos. I've seen their development around Ikoton. Do you understand? And it's there, and people are annexing all of this opportunity. But can the property even being done by LSDPC, is it affordable? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Is it affordable? So property will still be beyond the reach of the end users if government doesn't step in to do their bit. And their bit is formulating a policy around real estate finance and regulatory authorities around regulating the real estate sector itself. Is highly, highly unregulated. The second profession of everyone you see on the street today is actually real estate, because the value chain is very, very big. If they are not a broker, they will be a developer. If they are not developer, they will be in the financial space of real estate. They will say they are financing real estate. So the value chain, as far as real estate is concerned, if they are not in the financial space of real estate, they will be in the legal space of real estate. Because, if they are not in that, they will say they are a facility management company. So apart from federal government and Dangote, the largest employer of labor today is still the construction sector. And this sector is left unregulated. There is high level of professional quackery. People that their competence is in another thing, they are in construction.
What
making
are professionals like you, experienced persons like you in that industry? How are you guys coming together to address some of these challenges? Government will play their role; they are listening to us. But as players, what are you doing?
Okay, so basically, so what we do differently in the brand I manage is the fact that GHM Luxury is the fact that we ensure we put a round peg in a round hole. We engage all professionals in the built environment, the town planners, the architect, the civil engineer, the structural engineer, the mechanical, electrical, and the plumbing. We engage all professionals and a certified project manager to manage the affairs of our project. Before you move to site, you do a subsoil investigation. You get what is the planning law says concerning this particular land we are looking at, developing. You look at all of those things put together so that when you are going to the market with your product, you are sure that the investment of your investors are actually secure by ensuring that you have building plan approval for your project. You ensure that the buildability of the entire team combined together is actually at the highest eye. That means the experience of your architect comes into play, the structural engineer, the MEP, the services, because we focus more on the apartment side of luxury real estate, whereby majority of our structures are 7-story, 8-story, and above, and all of that. So, and you need professionals to take responsibility for whatever role they are playing on your project, and that is what we are actually doing differently. And another thing. And actually, in the recent time, government has actually stepped up because I've been in construction for over 17 years now, and I know what the enforcement is like 17 years ago and what it's like today.
Now.
So today, you cannot even move to site without receiving a letter of commencement from NAPCA, and to have that, you have to submit a practicing license of all your professionals. That has never been the case before now. So you have to submit the practicing license of your architect from ARCON, from the current for the civil engineer and the structural engineer. You have to submit all of these certificates, all of these practicing licenses. And before anyone will give you their practicing license, they will ask questions. They will, and that was not the case before now. So, so Lagos State is equally stepping up in their responsibility, but they still need to do more by enhancing the capacity of their enforcement team. Do you understand what I'm trying to say now? Because nobody will give you what they don't have. If the enforcement team is still lacking in capacity, then building will still continue to collapse. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get that.
So you need to know exactly what you are looking out for as far as competence is concerned before you can say, okay, this is not properly done. This is properly done. Then you can go ahead with this. So they come to site to sign off on every of your slab reinforcement, but what exactly are they signing off on?
Interesting stuff. Now, this is getting so interesting. I need to let you go. But before I let you go, you said what you do, put it in perspective. I wanted to look at what you think the public think about what you do, the public perception of what you do, and what's also the prospect of this industry moving forward.
Okay, basically, GHM Luxury will be hit this year, and we've delivered over 58,000 units in the space of that 8 years. And by the end of this year, we will deliver another about close to 100,000 units by the end of this year. So
TVC has to partner with you.
So what do we do? So what we do differently is the fact that we brand ourselves as a customer-centric brand and value-driven real estate outfit. And how we're achieving this is the fact that we try as much as we can to deliver to agree specification with our subscribers. So when we say this is what you get at the end of the day, that's what you get, and people are actually getting good value for their money, and that is why we have one of the highest retainer as far as our investors are concerned. They move with us from project to project because they are getting value for money, and no one has invested with God-made homes and lost their money. No one actually. So we would rather lose money than make money at the expense of our subscribers. And that is the reason why in the recent past we had to cancel 2 of our projects because they did not meet up with the desired standard as far as real estate is concerned. Because we don't just build houses, we build landmarks. And any of our project that doesn't fit into this, will not think it twice before we cancel the project, before we will go ahead and cancel the project. And that we've done in the past.
Interesting.
Yes.
We'll follow up with you as events unfold around the real estate industry and always have you in to speak around issues surrounding that sector. I really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Chief Executive Officer, GHM Luxury there, Mr. Ayoolanrewaju Kuyebi. He's a professional in structural and geotechnical engineering. Lots of accolades for you and reputation in this space. Thank you so much.
Thank you
it's
so
good
much
to have. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too.
All
Bye.
Right.